It's the old boilerplate. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys being open and being able to handle media opportunities this way. We're happy to work with you on getting coaches and players now that we're through spring break. So hit us up for any sports that you want. Just reach out to the sport contacts. We are planning on doing a softball teleconference tomorrow with Sydney Parr and Braxton Burnside. I'll send that information out after this call. But if you need something specific, don't hesitate to reach out to us and my team. So with that being said, please keep in mind a lot of things are still changing for us. I know you guys want answers to a lot of questions that we don't have answers for yet. The eligibility thing happened less than 24 hours ago, so all the schools are trying to figure that out. And baseball in particular, they've got the draft to deal with too. So a lot of things still continue to evolve, but Coach Van Horn and Heston and Casey will do the best they can to answer the questions that you got today. With that said, Matt, you want to lead us off? Matt Jones?
Sure. Hey, Dave, I wonder what you think about how yesterday's ruling affects the juniors, maybe not a Kerstead or a Martin, but the ones who would otherwise get drafted, but might not get drafted in a shortened draft this year.
Well, I think it'll give them a good option to go back to school. They feel like they're not going to get the type of bonus that they need to skip a year of school or two. So I think it's definitely an advantage for them. At least frees them up to make a decision instead of feeling like that they don't have any bargaining power and they pretty much take what they can get. So I'm really happy for them.
Matt, you have anything else?
Yeah, Dave, just kind of how do you approach, I know Kyle mentioned that it's still very early, but how do you approach the roster next season, having an expanded roster, and especially maybe your scholarship allocation with potentially so many players going to be on the roster?
Well, it's going to be different for every school. You talk about Arkansas. So what I see is that, first off, we don't have any seniors. So that part didn't help us one bit. I'm happy for the seniors. It helps them, gives them an opportunity to come back and play again. I think what it's going to do, it's going to help a lot of the mid-majors, or maybe in a rare case where some more, I guess, Power 5 type schools have a few seniors. I mean, you look at like TCU, they've got 7 or 8 seniors, and I think contributing. So they could be one of the oldest teams in the country next year if those kids decide to come back. But for Arkansas, in our program, we have some seniors academically, but as far as athletically, we just really had Cole Austin, who was a grad transfer, and then underclassmen. So, we won't have a bunch of seniors coming back that'll be on the roster. So that knocks the number down a little bit. And then, we'll have a few guys sign. And then there's a few guys that are borderline sign guys that obviously we hope they come back. And then, so if we get our freshmen, very, very talented group of freshmen, there's a couple, 3 that can come in and play right now or really help us, whether on the mound or with the bat. So, we just have to see what happens in the draft. And we don't even know when the draft is. We don't know how many rounds there's going to be. And, so there's still a lot up in the air for us. And I think there'll be things that will happen throughout the summer, whether we feel like somebody needs to make a move or somebody in here feels like they need to make a move. I mean, something always happens, but we've got many months to try to figure this out.
Nate?
I guess, Dave, do you think there'll be a draft that they could say, well, with all the juniors being eligible, or could they just wait and say, like, for a Casey Martin or a Kerstead, figure let's not give them that much bargaining power and just skip the draft and do it next year?
Well, I think there will be a draft. I think there'll be if Major League Baseball doesn't play all summer, they'll have a 5-round draft, and then they'll have free agency after that, where they're limited on how much money they can give the free agents. If Major League Baseball plays half their season or a little more, there could be all the way up to 20 rounds. If they play 100 games, there's probably closer to 20 rounds, what I've been told. If they play 80 games, you're probably looking at 10 or somewhere in there. I mean, it's all hearsay, but, you know, there's been some people in the know that I've talked to about it, and that I do feel that there will be a draft. And when we're talking about 2 or 3 of our guys should go in the first round, you know, and so I feel like that they will have bargaining power, and they're going to get paid the way they're supposed to if they go in the first round, second round, third round possibly. You know, and you start talking 4th or 5th round, if there's only 5 rounds, I don't know how they would handle that. But, you know, the good thing is if somebody decided they wanted to come back, obviously we'd welcome them with open arms and a scholarship. So, you know, time will tell.
Also, for summer development, are you just figuring out there'll be no summer ball this year, and the only thing really they can do is lift weights and train on their own?
Yeah, so that's one of our big issues with our coaching staff, and something I have a phone call that I'm going to be on later, and that's something that I'm definitely going to bring up. And it's maybe not so much about summer ball. Hopefully, they do get to play some summer balls in a couple of leagues anyway. You know, even if it's part of July and August. If they don't, I truly believe that there needs to be some type of rule where we can bring our guys in early. Or if we can't bring them in early, if everything's on go normal in September, that we could go longer if we need to, maybe just spread it out, and that maybe we could play outside competition whenever we want to, whether we play, you know, 10 games or 15 or 20 or whatever we need to do. And we could play Division I, we could play junior college, we could play Division II schools, whatever, just play some outside competition. I mean, we're worried about development. We want guys to get better, and our guys want to get better, but you do that by playing.
Thanks.
Tom?
Oh, hey, Dave. Thanks for doing this. I'm wondering what type of communications you can have with your guys, and if the guidelines that they allowed last week, but does that apply to you?
Well, right now, you know, it's basically phone calls and texting, and we can give them some things they can work on. We're not coaching them. We're not getting on, you know, FaceTime or anything with these guys and telling them what to do and showing them how to do it or watching them. You know, honestly, not 100% sure what we can do. Example, like football, like what they're doing right now, the 2 hours a week. Haven't even looked into it because we're not going to, at this point, we're not going to have our guys working out and making them do certain things at this time. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense for us to do that because they're not going to be playing anywhere for a few months, and they won't be back with us until our earliest would be, as of right now, maybe mid-August. That's kind of where we're at.
Okay, and so what are front burner issues for you? Like, what occupies your day-to-day right now?
Well, obviously, a couple things that are out of our control, and so I guess you can't get too uptight about it because you can't do anything about it. But you know, the main issue for us, once you get your mind around that we're not going to be playing baseball anymore, we don't have a season, is look to the roster and making sure that we put the type of team on the field that we need to here, and just roster management and being fair for everyone. And so without knowing when the draft is, and then the draft being put off and pushed back, I think it's going to be a mental battle for all of us coaches and a lot of the players throughout the summer. Some of it's pretty obvious, but we've got some really good young freshmen that we don't know if they're going to make it to school or not. So those are obviously there's scholarship involved there that can be moved around, and those are roster spots that can be taken by other kids. And So basically it's all about getting the player personnel straightened out, so to speak.
Gotcha. And just lastly, so you basically had to come to grips with the fact you're not going to be able to reconvene before school lets out with this baseball team.
Yeah, I mean it's a tough thing, you just everything, just to put an ending to this face to face, be able to meet with the team and talk to them and tell them how much you appreciate them and the effort that they put in and how hard they worked and then have what we, our exit meetings one-on-one or the players with all the coaches talking about, what they've done, what they need to work on, their future, and some of those meetings are not great meetings. Some of them are tough meetings where you have to talk about the future and, kids are transferring things, but you still need to have those. And now, those meetings are going to be over the phone, later on in the semester.
All right. Thanks. That's good for me.
Okay.
Drew?
Hey, Dave, Drew Ammon here, Big Trail Nation. Hope you're doing well. Hey, I just had a quick question. I know you talked about Christian Franklin in the last teleconference and the strides he made. Would you say he exceeded your expectations this season? Are you surprised at all, just given his potential?
I guess if you would have asked me, last year at the end of the season, or if I would have thought about it at the end of the season last year, I thought he exceeded it, how much better he got. But when he got back in the fall and we started working out and we started scrimmaging, we could see the development had really started to take place, between his confidence of playing as a freshman. He had a really good summer in summer ball, played on a really good team, and one of the best players on that team, and they won the championship in California. And coming back, you can just see the defensive player. Once fall ball was over, we knew what we thought we thought he could do, and he was doing it. So a little of both. I guess it just depends on the timing, but yeah, he definitely made a jump, and most kids do, and that's what I've seen over the years is that the biggest jump guys will usually make will be between their freshman and sophomore year, and it's usually because they have the skills, they're getting stronger, and now mentally they think they've arrived and they're confident.
And then just one more in terms of personnel. I know Casey Opitz is a guy who it's well documented how great of a leader he is, but what would you say in terms of Heston Kjerstad, just the way he's evolved as a leader and knowing that, he has a presence in the clubhouse in that regard? He's had so many experiences now, having been with Team USA.
Yeah, I think Heston probably, as far as the leadership qualities, made one of the biggest jumps from his sophomore year to the fall of his junior year. Just the respect of his teammates, because the first year or two, he just played, worked hard, and maybe let some other guys lead a little bit more. And we had older guys in there. And then when it was his turn, he did a tremendous job. And I think the players really looked up to Heston, because here you see this kid that's had 2 really good years, and now he's getting ready to start his third, and he worked hard as hard or harder than anybody on the team. And you just kind of sit back and say, yeah, I'm pretty good, I'm going to go get it. He worked hard, and they saw that. So I think he earned most of his respect with his work ethic. And then he just keeps getting better. He was really good as a freshman. He was really good as a sophomore. But I'm telling you, this is a lot. I think, you kind of saw it. I think if we'd have played, 60-plus games, which we would have, you would have seen him do some special things on the field.
Appreciate it, Dave.
Yep.
Hey,
advantage of this and come back next year?
Yeah, we talked a few days after we broke, as a team and had to leave. I would say as of right now, he's play and he's just going to finish his masters. But you know, good for than a lot of the guys, and maybe it's time to step aside. But sometimes when you have a little time to really think, and you know, maybe I need to finish this thing up. So now it's 40-60 that he won't play next year.
hmm And then also with the rule with seniors not counting toward, roster spots and scholarships, does that apply to graduate transfers? And is that something you would potentially pursue, like if you could find a Trevor Ezell type guy?
Well, those are some of the things we're not 100% sure on that we're trying to find out. So I really can't answer that. I would think that it would be just. I would think that it would not count, but who's to say? You know, if you leave one school to go to another, does that change things? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And one more, I had you had a couple of guys sitting out this year as transfers, Colin Smith and Miller Pleeman. Did this count as their sit out year? Will they be eligible to play next year?
Yeah, they'll be eligible to play. It's more of a, I think it's more of a semester to semester thing than it is maybe a season. It's about, a year of being somewhere. So, it's Miller Pleeman. Is how you pronounce that, and he did really well for us in the fall, and I think he'll do a good job for us next year. So, and then Cullen, he did well in the fall, and then did even better in January. I could see him make a big jump. That if he'd have been eligible, he'd have had a chance to play for us this year. So, those guys, as far as I know, will be back.
All right, that's all I got. Thanks, Dave.
Okay.
Matt, you had a few more questions?
Yeah, just to clarify a couple of things. Dave, do you know how this ruling will affect junior college players who are coming in? Say if it's a sophomore from junior college, are they going to be able to be a sophomore again if they come into Division I school?
I'm not 100%. I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. I know that that's one of our questions as well, because I would think it makes sense if he lost the year there because they didn't get to play. Why would they count the year when he comes here? So, example, the two to three JUCO kids we have committed right now, if they came in, they should be able to come in as redshirt sophomores. But that would be my semi-educated guess.
And then I wonder if the draft is moved back, does that affect who is eligible for the draft in terms of that 45-day window?
I heard it would not. I heard that they would go off of what it was going to be. So 45 days from whenever, June, whatever it was supposed to be, 10th, somewhere in there.
And then I also wonder, have you heard any stories about your players trying to stay in shape? Maybe some of the things they're having to do to get creative to work out with the gyms being closed?
Well, just talk to a few of them. They have strength and conditioning, I guess more weights type stuff in their basements and garages, and hitting off the tee into a net in the garage or the basement. I mean, the basic stuff. We've got some of them that probably have a key to get into somebody's batting cage somewhere, and I think there's a lot of that going on. That's maybe not open to the public, but if you know somebody, they let you in and they keep it one or two people in there. So just, a few of those stories going all around.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions for Coach Van Horn?
Yeah, Kyle. Go ahead, Dudley.
All right, Bob. Go ahead, Bob.
Okay, thanks. Dave, I guess whatever the format is, we all know Heston's going to be pretty high. Well, what do you think about him as a draft prospect, and what kind of feedback do you get from the major league people?
Well, what I think about him as a draft prospect, I think he's probably the best left-handed hitter in the country. If you combo up being able to use the whole field, and then also you throw in the power to all parts of the field. And, the development I've seen, I don't know how there could be a better left-handed hitter in the country right now. So I would think his draft stock would be pretty high. I know it is from talking to people. And, I think he showed early how much better he was than he walked in here, I guess, this early spring. He was awfully good. And, I think that he's going to be a really good draft. I think he's going to be a really good pro player, and I think if he stays healthy and stays hooked up, which I feel like he will, I think he'll play in the big leagues for a long time.
And then Casey Opus, obviously he's a high-end defensive catcher. I guess he's improved his hitting switch hitter. What sort of draft feedback do you get on him?
I mean, it's a mix with Casey. They don't know Casey like we know him, and they evaluate you against other catchers that are available in the draft, and are they going to take this guy first because he has a better arm, or take this guy ahead of Casey because he hits better? But as far as the total package, the mental part of it, the defense, the offense, I mean, I feel like Casey's one of the top probably 3 catchers in the country right now, and that there's some scouts they're not sure. But I think he should be a good draft. If he's not drafted where he wants to, or doesn't get the money that he really wants, I mean, obviously we would love to have him back, and I think he'd get his money next year. He might be one of the first catchers taken off the board if he came back one more year. But I don't see him doing that. But he knows that option's there now, and I'm happy for that.
And then if I understood the scholarship decision properly, you can expand the roster for 2021, but not for the following years. Is that how you read it?
That's the way I read it, and I mean that could make for some difficult decisions at the end of the 21 season, or if you want to be proactive, you maybe start taking care of some of that now. So you don't have to do it next year. If there's kids that are borderline, or for sure you don't feel good about it, then just be upfront with them. Maybe let them make their own decision on that. But that's the way I understand it right now. But again, we're still trying to get all that straightened out in our mind.
I know the other day you said you were hoping they kind of cycled through 4 seasons. Are you kind of disappointed that they're just doing it for the 1 season?
Well, I would say that I'm not 100% sure if it's just for 1 season, because I think they can always make some adjustments. I think once in baseball, it's just a different situation, than maybe other sports that they're expanding for a year. Maybe baseball, they taper it down over a couple, 3 years. I mean, it'd be great if it was 4, but if it was 3, that's better than 1. And I think that those are going to be some things that are going to be discussed. If the SEC or some of the other leagues want to go back to the NCAA and say, hey, this makes more sense. And if you're looking at student-athlete well-being, then it does make more sense, because then we aren't running guys out of here, or they're not feeling like they're forced to leave, or whatever the situation may be at their university. But so I think that's still up in the air a little bit.
I had a couple more. I'll let somebody else jump in if they want to.
Dudley, did you have any?
Yeah. Hey, Coach, appreciate you doing this. You have such a good recruiting class coming in. Have any of those guys or their parents or whatever talked to you and been worried about maybe how things are going to go along? And when you break things down, how do you what's your philosophy? And maybe I got a guy here who can help me for 3 years as opposed to a guy who's maybe not been playing a lot. What's your philosophy on those things?
Right. Well, first off, I haven't had any parents reach out to us, and now that we've found out the ruling, I mean, yeah, that helps some of our guys, keep a status example of, I was a freshman this year, I can be freshman status next year. So that might be concerning to the parents. But the thing is, in 2 more seasons, that freshman class they're going to be draft eligible. And then you look at our roster this year, we don't have any seniors on our roster. So our juniors that are good players, for the most part, they end up signing a contract unless there's a certain situation, an injury or something. So I don't think that they should be too concerned about it, because when our guys are, let's say you go down the road 2 years and their son has just finished his sophomore year, and the freshmen in here just finished their redshirt sophomore year, if they're good enough, they're going to sign. And if they're not good enough, then maybe they weren't playing anyway, or who knows. So I haven't really had any, I'm not real concerned about it as of right now. I don't see issues. Now, the issue is, if we had 4 or 5 seniors that are coming back that are pretty good players, and then we get a log jam, I would get a little bit more. But basically, our junior and senior situation can be the same as it is every year.
Also, if we're just thinking there may be a 5-round draft, you have some of those signees that you think that are going to be maybe pushing into that.
Yes, we have a few kids that could go in the top 5 rounds, and we talk to those guys. We kind of have an idea that they, what it's going to take for them to sign, and there's a possibility they could get that kind of money. But we always think we're going to lose a couple. You don't want to lose 4 or 5, and because I think in a normal draft year, if there were 40 rounds, I think we could have as many as double digits drafted. That out of the high school kids, if they really were drafting them on what they saw on the field. Now, sometimes they don't draft them because they price themselves out, or I'm going to college no matter what, or whatever the situation. But if it was just straight up drafting because of ability, I think we have a lot of kids that would, they're incoming high school kids and JUCO kids that would definitely be drafted.
Anybody in particular that is projected to go really high?
Well, I mean, if you look around, you see Mason Lynn's name jump up there a lot. So he's probably the main one. I mean, he's projected maybe, I don't know. I've seen him as high as maybe a sandwich pick, late first-round pick. He wants a lot of money. Really good player. He can play, both. He can play anywhere on the field pretty much, and he can pitch. And we would use him maybe as a late inning pitcher or closer, but I think athletically he's going to get on the field as freshman.
Thank you.
Quick reminder to mute your line if you're not asking questions. Bob, did you have a few more?
Yeah, I had a couple more. Dave, are you going to the office every day or pretty frequently, or what? Are you just working from home, or how's that working?
Pretty much working from home. I'm in the office right now, probably doing most of the day today, and just kind of bounce around a little bit, try to, take it serious like everybody else should. I mean, this is really dangerous. Try to stay away from people as much as you can and be safe. And I don't want to get sick, and I don't want to get anybody sick. So doing what I'm supposed to do, and that's stay away.
And is the field being maintained like it would if it was the season, groundskeeper guys, keeping it looking good and everything?
Yeah, you figure we're not out there tearing it up. I mean, it looks beautiful right now. It's as green as I've ever seen it this time of the year with all the rain we've had, and it's beautiful, and it's almost depressing to look at it. It looks so nice because we don't get to play on it, be out there. And I'm sure the fans feel the same way. They don't get to come see this. That's part of the baseball thing. Just being at the ballpark and the sights and the smells, and obviously the game's important, but there's a lot to it, and that's kind of some of the things we're missing right now.
So are they like mowing it and?
Yeah, they can't let it go. I mean, they got to mow it. So, they're not mowing it every day like they would this time of the year. Normally, they're probably mowing it every other day, every third day. And they're probably not mowing it quite as short as they normally do. They don't have to.
Did you go out and walk around on it or anything? Or?
Yeah, I have once or twice. You want to meet me down there and go for a walk, or what are we talking about now?
I don't know. We'd have to stay 6 feet apart.
I don't know if we get that close, Bob. Come on now.
I could yell some questions at you.
Yeah, I'm sure you would too. That's good.
I had one last one, hopefully kind of lighthearted. I saw Casey Martin, I guess, I don't know if he called a music video, but he posted something on Twitter where he was singing and playing a guitar. Did you happen to see that? And if so, what'd you think? And does he ever like sing or play in the clubhouse?
Well, I did see it. I have to admit, when I first saw it pop up, I was like, what is going on with this? And then I thought, well, he's not bad. You know, but who am I to judge somebody singing a country western song? But hey, I'm glad he's got some talent and different things. I mean, pretty good athlete, great baseball player, and played guitar. I think he might be able to play the drums, and now he's singing a little bit. So it takes a lot of courage to sing in public.
You thought it was a pretty good deal?
I thought he did a pretty good job. Yeah.
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, Bob.
Any more questions for Coach Van Horn?
Yeah, I've got one for you, Coach. It's Tyler Cass. We talk a lot in baseball, especially about the jumps, freshman year, sophomore year to junior year, just losing most of the season. How are we going to see that kind of affect that kind of progression?
Well, I think it'll be slowed down a little bit, and that's why I'm hoping that we would have the opportunity to maybe start early or have the opportunity to practice and work out a little longer than normal, or at least play outside competition more in scrimmage settings. Or I just think that would really that would help. Now, as far as the strength, and maybe to some I don't know, some point, some percent, the mental part of just growing up and being familiar with everything. You walk back in your second year of school, usually everything doesn't seem so big and so stressful. And I think that's what also helps these guys make this jump. But definitely from the development standpoint, not seeing as many pitches as you would as a hitter, or getting out or, attacking hitters as a pitcher, you're behind there a little bit compared to normal. So any way that we can help these guys catch up, that's what we're going to try to do this next year.
All right, last question, Coach Van Horn. All right, Coach, appreciate your time.
Thanks.
All right,
Thanks, Dave.
then. Okay, see you guys. Stay safe.